But let's go to books, eh? Much, I want to share this book with a lot of people. A personal history of Catherine Graham. Catherine Graham inherited the Washington Post from her father, but her father decided that she didn't have the experience, but instead her husband should run the Washington Post, the Washington Post. Most of the things I've done as a publisher, I learned from this book. I read books to learn and not to entertain myself. So what she did, which for me has informed the way I've been involved in journalism, is that her husband wanted to have the limelight in Washington. So he was into wining and dining politicians, and he used the Washington Post to advance his interests. When she came in, she did the opposite. Watergate was broken under her watch.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Because she gave the journalist free rein. She said, what my husband used to do, I will not do. This is a national institution. The Washington Post is a national institution, and I'm holding it in trust for everybody. So I do what I do, largely informed by what she did. I had to make a choice. Do I do what her husband did, or do I do what she did? And I was fully convinced that my principles and values were, do not interfere. You simply create an enabling environment, and you have an editorial advisory board.
That's evidence, testimony of.
And you have retired Chief Justice Chinengo as an ombudsman, and it takes you don't have to get involved. So this book has been hugely important to me. Right. And The Team of Rivals. Yeah. Again, I recommend this. This is an amazing book about how Abraham Lincoln, you might disagree with some of his political views, but great book. This is a book that I recommend for young people like you. Creating the Good Life, applying Aristotle's wisdom to find meaning and happiness. This is from success to significance, which is the kind of stuff that you are doing, Muchadeyi Masunda. I know you read. What books would you want to recommend to our book-loving viewers out there?
Well, I've been a voracious reader, Trevor, from age 15. Those days I used to confine myself mainly to books about the budding nationalists in the region, Robert Sobuk, Mangaliso Sobuk, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, and of course locally Joshua Mqabu, Nyongolo Nkoma, and all that. And the other things that used to fascinate me was a series that used to be published because of that crisis in the DRC. There was an author, I can't remember his name now, used to write, books with publications with eye-catching titles like 100 Days in Elizabethville, which is now Lubumbashi.
Yeah.
100 Days in Leopoldville, which is now Kinshasa. 100 Days in Stanleyville, which is now Kisangani. But essentially, he was capturing what was happening with the forced exodus of people because of the civil unrest and commotion and so forth.
Do you remember the name of the author?
I can't remember the name of the author. I think it was David Burke, know. But anyway, then I read the history of the Khama dynasty in Botswana. It was written by Sekedi Khama, who was, I think at the time, a regent of sorts. But the other book that I read, which inspired me a lot, was The Rich for the Sky. It was all to do with this legless pilot, during the World War II. I think it was Douglas Bader, B-A-D-E-R. But in later life, I devoted a lot of my energies on books to do with the economic industrial development of Africa. Martin Meredith, the history of Africa, and the publications from the Brentest Foundation, like Why Africa is Poor and what we Africans can and should do about it. But the one that really left an indelible impression on my mind is the Singapore story by the founding father of Singapore,
Lee Kuan Yew.
Lee Kuan Yew, and more popular known by his initials, LKY. And that's where you see meritocracy at play. And to look at Singapore, Trevor, as you know, I'm sure you've been there, and I've been there quite a number of times. They've got no resources to talk of. Zero, nada.
City-state.
It's a city-state, yeah. Natural resources, nada, zero. But they punch well above their weight.